And comments. The honourable member for Timmins, James Bay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The minister plays a very important role because she's the only voice at Cabinet for Northern Ontario. But I didn't hear any mention of Northern Ontario, or particularly the hammering that's happened in Thunder Bay economically. Now, I'm looking at today's unemployment figures, and I'm looking at the government's calculation for what regions deserve to be given the extended EI benefits, and Thunder Bay is one of those regions that should have gotten it. And yet we saw no action from this government. In fact, when it was Edmonton and southern Saskatchewan and southern interior BC that were pushing for extended EI benefits, it was opposition MPs, NDP MPs that pushed for it. So other regions of Northern Ontario are eligible for the EI extensions, but Thunder Bay needs it. It meets the criteria. The Prime Minister has said he's refusing to add any other regions. Why has this minister not stood up for Thunder Bay and said that the unemployed workers of Thunder Bay deserve the same rights that other Canadians in similar regions are receiving? She's at the Cabinet table. She should be speaking up for the people of Northern Ontario.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my colleague for his question. Of course, Northern Ontario has suffered a prolonged and retracted recession, which is why Northern Ontario, except for Thunder Bay, has been included in the EI extension. And I'm very proud of the fact that I speak loudly and clearly for Northern Ontario. As a matter of fact, one of the privileges I had recently was being beside our Minister of Innovation and Science as he announced over $2 million to a First Nations company that is investing in solar-generated power, giving a much-needed economic boost to those 6 First Nations that are part of this conglomerate, but also to our region. And when we invest in things like small business, when we invest in innovation, when we invest in our communities, we'll see the thriving economic return to Northern Ontario. Thank you.
Questions and comments? Questions et commentaires. La députée de Laurentides.
The Honourable Member for Laurentides-Labelle. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. One of the major issues in the large regions of Canada is that high-speed internet barely exists in our riding. We have a connection that is unacceptable even for the 2000s, and now we're in 2016. Can the member talk about the $500 million investment in high-speed internet in the budget? Is she proud of it?
Féminine.
Honourable Minister.
Very much, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the member for his reminder about the importance of broadband and how it has been such a detriment to not have expansive broadband in rural and remote communities. And I agree with him that this is an essential component to actually success and innovation in the North. And I regret that the member that asked me the previous question is not able to hear my response to this, but in fact this is an indication of that commitment to Northern Ontario and other rural and remote regions across the country